All right, let's jump right in. When we think of gods of war, our minds usually jump to some singular, powerful dude. But in Irish mythology, things are a whole lot more complex, and they're embodied by this mysterious and frankly often terrifying force known as the Morrigan. And that brings us right to the heart of the mystery, doesn't it? Is the Morrigan one goddess, or is she three acting as one? Well, as we're about to find out, the answer is a fascinating, mind-bending both. So, to get our heads around this, here's the plan. We'll first look at her identity as both 1 and 3. Then, we'll dive into her two main faces, the Phantom Queen and the Great Queen. After that, we'll meet the three sisters, see how their roles weave back together, and finally, we'll understand her ultimate job as the one who decides the price of power. Okay, let's tackle this core paradox head on. How can one being also be three? It's a bit of a head-scratcher, right? Well, in the Morrigan's world, identity is fluid. Kind of like a flame that can split into three and then snap right back together again. And this right here changes everything. Morrigan isn't a personal name like Zeus or Odin. Think of it more as a job title, a collective name for a three-part entity that controls the tangled web of conflict, life, and, yeah, death. So who are these three figures holding the title? Well, meet the sisters, Bab, Matcha, and Naaman. They're the daughters of the mother goddess Ernmes, and together they paint the full, complicated picture of this divinity. So even though she is three sisters, she often appears as just one single figure. But here's the kicker. Who you see depends entirely on who you are and what your fate is. She's both a phantom and a queen. This lays it out perfectly. It's two sides of the same coin. A cocky warrior shows up and meets a withered old crone. That's the Phantom Queen, from the old Irish word for phantom. Her whole job is to terrify him. But then, a high king comes along seeking the right to rule, and he meets a majestic, regal woman, the Great Queen, from the Middle Irish word for great. She's there to grant him power. Same goddess, same riverbank, totally different experiences. As the Phantom Queen, her battlefield is all in your head. This image of the mare, wow. It's not about a physical fight, it's about pure psychological warfare. It's about crushing a warrior's spirit and turning his courage into fear before a single sword is swung. But flip that coin, and as the Great Queen, she is the land. She's the personification of sovereignty itself. She's the ultimate authority, the one who looks at you and decides if you're actually worthy of wearing that crown. Okay, so we've seen her two faces. Now let's pull back the curtain and properly meet the three sisters running the show, each with a very specific and terrifying job on the battlefield. Let's break this down. First, you've got Baz, the frenzy. Picture her as a screaming crow flying over a battle, whipping everyone into a state of pure carnage. Then there's Naaman, the venom. Her piercing cry is enough to break an entire army's morale and drive them mad. And finally, Macha, the sovereignty. She's the grim collector, gathering the heads of the dead to physically claim the land for the victor. And the most important part? They work in perfect, horrifying harmony. They've got every angle of war covered. Badmer starts the violence, Naaman shatters the mind, and Matcha cleans up, asserting total control. Nothing is left to chance. So, we have these three distinct, terrifying roles, but how do they all snap back together to become the singular Morrigan we talk about? Well, the old tales talk about something called the flicker. It's this moment where if you're watching, the lines just blur. The three separate sisters seem to dissolve like mist and collapse back into one singular cohesive shadow. They are both the individuals and the title, all at once. And this is how she weaves it all together. This is her whole deal. She connects the psychological dread of the phantom, the political power of the queen, and the brutal physical reality of what her sisters do on the battlefield. She is literally the bridge between a nightmare and a crown. So, what this really shows us is that power and fate aren't simple, single threads you can just follow. No, they're a complex, tangled, interwoven system. And she's holding all the strings. So, what's the endgame here? What does all this complexity mean? Well, ultimately, the Morrigan serves one single purpose. She is the final judge for anyone, and I mean anyone, who seeks power, from the lowest foot soldier to the highest king. And it really doesn't matter if you meet the terrifying crone or the regal queen. Either way, her appearance is a stark reminder that the land itself is a power, and to have control over it always comes with a price. A price paid in blood and chaos.
Her whole legend, her whole being, really just boils down to this fundamental duality. She isn't just a war goddess or just a sovereignty goddess. She is both, and you absolutely cannot separate them.
And that is the ultimate takeaway. In her world, you just can't have power without terror. You can't have the right to rule without the bloodshed it takes to claim it and keep it. They are two faces of the exact same authority. Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. Is she the guiding force, the shadow that helps a ruler hold on to their crown? Or is she simply the terror that shows up to collect the bloody price? The mythology seems to scream the answer is she has to be both.